Hello again everyone and welcome to Unit 7. Today we will be working from pages 58 and 59 from your student's book. Of course we will read and listen to the text first and then we will match the highlighted words with the definitions. Are you ready? Let's listen to the audio.
Unit 7, page 59. Read. Exercise 2. Read and listen to the text. Nature or nurture? Who enjoys doing exams? Very few school students seem to, but they would all agree that a student who does well in exams and tests is a student who is intelligent. But where does intelligence come from? The 19th century scientist Francis Galton was one of the first to study human intelligence seriously. Galton wanted to discover if it was hereditary or if it was a product of people's environments. In other words, were people born intelligent or could intelligence be improved through education? Following years of research, Galton concluded that most of our brain power comes from our genes and that our surroundings don't have much effect on how clever we are. Galton's theory that intelligence was hereditary dominated psychology throughout the 20th century. In fact, studies in the 1960s of identical twins succeeded in reinforcing Galton's views. The twins in the study had been separated at birth and adopted by different families, so they had never lived together. In some cases, they didn't even know about each other. Researchers interviewed the twins when they had reached adulthood and discovered that they had all achieved remarkably similar positive results in their studies. This seemed to be clear proof that intelligence was passed on from generation to generation. However, one professor of psychology, Richard E. Nisbet, was not convinced. For years, Nisbet had adhered to the belief that most of our cerebral skills, or lack of them, were inherited. However, he soon realized that there was a flaw in the study on the twins. There was no information about the families who had adopted them. Through his own research, he discovered that the adoptive families all had middle-class backgrounds. In other words, they were families who were able to provide children with a good education. Nisbet discovered that all the sets of twins had been brought up in almost identical environments and had each received a good education. Couldn't this be the reason for the similarity in results between them? Nisbet believed that this was the case. Further studies by a university professor in New Zealand, James Flynn, confirmed the idea that the environment greatly affects how clever we are. Flynn had studied lots of IQ, intelligence quotient tests, that were carried out around the world during the 20th century. These tests are used to measure a person's intelligence, and someone managing a score of 100 is said to have an average level. Flynn noticed that people who had regular access to education and a good diet had been able to increase their average IQ by 30 points. Nisbet and Flynn have shown that although our ancestors' genes have a lot to do with intellect, it also depends on the opportunities we get to develop our brains. But of course, parents have a big influence on that too. Parents can help their children to realize their potential by speaking to them frequently, by reading to them, and by encouraging them to be aware of the world around them. It's no use being born with innate intelligence if nobody encourages you to make the best of it.
Okay, so we have seen the text and listened to it. Now let's see the highlighted words and see which words can we match with which definitions. The first word that we have here is the word hereditary. This is how you pronounce it, hereditary. And hereditary means passed on from parent to child. Something that is passed on from parent to child, this is what we call hereditary. The second word that we have is surroundings. Surroundings. And surroundings are the place and conditions that someone lives in. So it goes with 12. And then we have the verb to reinforce, and it's put here reinforcing. Reinforce or reinforcing means making something stronger. To reinforce something is to make it stronger. Next, we have the word proof, and I think this is very easy for you. Proof means information or documents that show that something is true. It is the same as the word evidence. Then we have passed on. Passed on. Passed on means given to somebody else after they had been given it. So as if you have something and you give it, you forward it to someone else. This is to pass on. Convinced. That's a verb. Convinced means three, completely sure about something. And then we have the phrasal verb adhered to. And adhered to means followed a particular belief or idea. Then we have the word cerebral. Cerebral. What does it mean? Relating to the brain. It is the same as the word cerebral. It comes from cerebellum. That's a part in the brain. Lack of. Lack of. That's an expression. Means (11) the state of not having something or not having enough of something. What about a flow? A flow means a mistake. Number 14, a mistake, which means something is not correct. Next we have brought up, and it's the past or the past participle of to bring up. And brought up means right, cared for young children until they were grown up. Next we have the verb confirmed. And confirmed means (8) showed that a belief or opinion is true, especially with evidence. Then we have intellect, and intellect refers to the power of the mind to think and learn. It comes from intelligence. Then we have potential. When you tell someone you have a lot of potential, it means you have a lot of qualities and skills and abilities. It's number 2, qualities or abilities that somebody or something has but may not be fully developed yet. And finally we have the word innate, and it means 13, describing a quality or ability that someone is born with, something that doesn't come to you by time, you are born with it. So let's see the answer key to revise our answers.